All right, let's just jump right into this explainer. We're tackling the ultimate budget battle facing literally every maintenance manager across the globe, choosing the right strategy for your assets. Whether you're running a food and beverage plant, a pulp and paper mill, or a discrete manufacturing facility, the pattern repeats everywhere. You're constantly forced to balance between preventive maintenance and condition-based maintenance. It's a heavyweight matchup that completely dictates where your time, labor, and budget go. So how do you get it right?
Right out of the gate, the financial stakes here are just massive. I mean, emergency repairs cost roughly 4.8 times more than doing that exact same work as scheduled maintenance. 4.8 times. That is exactly why we have to get this decision right at the planning stage, long before a failure actually happens. Waiting for a machine to break is just no longer a viable option. But choosing how to prevent that break, well, that's where the real money is made or lost.
So, here's our game plan for today. 1. The maintenance budget dilemma. 2. Preventative, the predictable choice. 3. Condition-based, the precision choice. 4. The 4 variables of CBM. And finally, number 5, the mixed strategy matrix.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the maintenance budget dilemma.
Let's frame the core problem we're trying to solve today. Here's the universal dilemma, right? Do you just keep doing time-based maintenance on absolutely everything, or do you invest in condition monitoring? Think of preventative maintenance, or PM, like changing your car's oil every 3,000 miles. Just in case. You're scheduling it by calendar time or usage hours, completely regardless of the actual condition of the part. Condition-based maintenance, CBM, is a whole different ballgame. It's like waiting for a specific sensor on your dashboard to tell you the oil has actually degraded. You're triggering the work just in time. Neither is universally cheaper, but man, they pull your budget in 2 very different directions.
Moving right along to Section 2. Preventive, the predictable choice.
So PM is the default strategy in most systems. And honestly, it gives you a super simple, predictable cost structure. You know your labor hours, your replacement parts, and your planned downtime windows. But here is the massive downside. Maintenance costs typically eat up somewhere between 15 and 40% of your total production costs. And a deeply meaningful chunk of that massive number, it comes from replacing perfectly good parts way too early. You're literally throwing away components that have plenty of life left in them just because the calendar told you it was time. On critical assets, that's basically just leaving money on the table.
But hey, despite those wasted parts, PM is absolutely the right call in a few specific scenarios. If an asset is low to medium criticality, if the cost of downtime is totally manageable, or if the failure modes are just basic, well-understood things, like swapping out filters or lubricants, PM is an absolute winner. It's also perfect if you're working with a tight budget, a smaller headcount, or if you've got strict regulatory or warranty mandates that legally require fixed interval service. In those situations, the sheer simplicity of PM completely outweighs the inefficiency of replacing a part a little early.
Let's flip the script. Section 3. Condition-based, the precision choice.
Now, what if we replace that calendar trigger with a measured trigger? With CBM, the work order only opens when actual, real-time data, things like vibration, temperature, or oil quality, crosses a very specific threshold. This strategy totally shifts your budget. You move away from spending money on unnecessary replacement parts, and instead you pour that budget into monitoring infrastructure, sensors, and the time it takes to actually analyze all that data. But, how do you figure out if that financial trade-off actually makes sense for your plant?
Well, that brings us to Section 4, the 4 variables of CBIM.
You really have to evaluate each individual asset through 4 specific steps before you commit your budget. Look, applying CBM uniformly across an entire production floor is just a surefire way to waste money. You've got to look at the sensor and hardware cost, the asset's criticality, the data interpretation layer, and finally, the payback period. Let's walk through what these actually look like in the real world.
So, looking at variable 2, asset criticality, CBM really only earns its keep on equipment where failure is genuinely expensive. Check out this incredible real-world example from a cement plant. They deployed a wireless condition monitor on a critical separator fan motor, and guess what? It caught a non-synchronous bearing vibration long before the machine actually failed. That single early warning avoided roughly $120,000 in losses and over 160 hours of total downtime. I mean, that is the pure power of CBM right there. But remember, you wouldn't get anywhere near that kind of return on some non-critical conveyor motor where you've got a cheap spare just sitting on the shelf.
And this brings us to variable 3, which is honestly the biggest trap in predictive maintenance. Sensors without analysts are just an expensive dashboard that nobody looks at. If you drop thousands of dollars on precision vibration analysis hardware, but you don't budget for a reliability technician, or at least a CMMS module to actually interpret the data and trigger the alerts, your CBM program is going to quietly die within a year. Seriously, it happens all the time. The analysis layer is absolutely the most crucial part of the entire investment.
Next up, factoring in variable 4, the payback period. CBM usually requires some upfront investment, sure, but that gap reverses over time. The average payback period for a CBM program is somewhere between 12 to 36 months, with critical assets often hitting full ROI in just 6 to 18 months. So the math pretty much dictates that CBM makes the most sense on assets that have enough useful life left to actually hit those windows. If a machine is due to be replaced in 6 months anyway, do not waste your money slapping a sensor on it.
Now, what if you just don't have the budget for all that fancy IoT hardware right now? Well, surprisingly, you can still run CBM without buying a single sensor. If you use CMMS-driven inspection data, where your technicians simply record observed condition scores during their regular rounds, you can still achieve a 25 to 30% reduction in downtime. It's a fantastic low-barrier starting point before you go and try to justify a massive hardware spend.
When you finally target CBM correctly alongside your existing strategies, the results are just staggering. Teams that combine predictive and preventative strategies report an incredible 52.7% less unplanned downtime and 78.5% fewer defects. Compared to teams that just rely on reactive work, it's not even close, guys. Combining these approaches is exactly how world-class facilities operate.
Which brings us to Section 5, the Mixed Strategy Matrix.
Here's the ultimate plot twist of this whole explainer. PM and CBM, they aren't actually competitors at all. They're teammates. The most successful facilities build a criticality-based matrix to combine them. Basically, you assign your strategies asset by asset. You apply preventative maintenance to the low and medium-risk equipment where operational simplicity wins out. Then, you deploy condition-based maintenance exclusively on the high-risk, expensive assets where those measurable degradation signals actually justify the cost of the sensors. Applying CBM uniformly just wastes budget on low-risk gear, and applying PM uniformly, that leaves you wide open to catastrophic high-risk failures.
Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking right now. Does switching to this matrix mean I can finally cut my maintenance labor hours? Well, not necessarily. The goal here is to reallocate your labor, not just reduce it. By using this matrix, you'll shift your team's valuable time away from needlessly tearing down perfectly healthy machines just to inspect them. Instead, you're empowering them to spend that time interpreting condition data and executing highly targeted, necessary repairs. You're working smarter, and their equipment runs longer. It's a total win-win.
So I'm going to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative question to help evaluate your own facility's budget right now. Are you over-maintaining your healthy machines, or are you under-monitoring the critical ones? Because the hard truth is, getting this balance wrong is costing you money every single day. The true key to operational excellence isn't choosing between PM and CBM. It's mastering the matrix and tracking both strategies in a unified system. Take a hard look at your asset list today and start making your maintenance budget work for you, not against you.